This is AFCON Today on Joy 99.7 FM, on the Joy News channel, as well as on the Joy Prime TV channel. First of all, big apologies for the late start of the program, but we've got a lot to cover today on the show. Chris Hughton has finally been sacked as Black Stars head coach after the disastrous AFCON campaign. We'll take a look back on everything that has contributed to his dismissal. Why didn't he even resign in the first place? Why was he waiting to be sacked? Anyway, what about the future? The GFA has announced that even the entire backroom staff or technical staff has been dissolved. In other words, they're now putting together a roadmap on the future of the Black Stars. What should that future look like? Where should we be looking? In what direction should we be looking in our attempt to find a replacement for Chris Hughton? Then there's also the big issue of who takes responsibility on the FA side, because there are people that say just sacking the manager is only 5% of the solution. What about everything else that has contributed to our systematic failure? Who is dissolving the dissolver? Okay, the GFA say they've dissolved the technical team, but who is dissolving the dissolver? Or in other words, who is taking responsibility at the GFA? And what are the consequences for supervising now back-to-back AFCON embarrassment? Someone at the GFA should be taking responsibility and be stepping down. Why isn't that happening? It's a question we will ask here on the show. Elsewhere at the AFCON, of course, the shocks just keep on rolling on. This is turning out to be probably the best AFCON ever. Somebody said this AFCON is the Obianyobia AFCON. It doesn't matter your pedigree. If you're not good, the actual football will expose you. And Algeria found that out yesterday. They have been kicked out of the competition by Mauritania. And Mauritania beat them by 1-0. And that was their first ever win at the AFCON. And he somehow ended up kicking Algeria out of the tournament. They finished bottom of their group with just the 2 points from their first 2 draws. And there is, of course, consequences for that. Head coach Jamal Belmadi reports out that he's stepping down from his role after such a long time. He led them to AFCON victory in 2019, but they've now suffered back-to-back exits in the group stages of the AFCON. So we'll look back at the action from yesterday as well. There were so many other games, dramatic action in the game between Cameroon and Guinea. We'll talk about the Gambia, I beg your pardon, we'll talk about that, which also resulted in the Gambia coach Tom Sanford deciding he's seen enough in the Smiling Coast, and now he's smiling his way out of the Gambia. The show is live and interactive and is sponsored, of course, by MTN. MTN everywhere you go. We'll take a really, really short break. When we come back, I will introduce my guest and we can zoom straight into the action. Welcome back. You're watching AFCON Today, of course, on the Joy News channel and on the Joy Prime channel. You're also listening to us on 99.7 Joy FM. My name is Fento Tahiru Fento. Welcome to the show. Achu Tamaklo and, of course, CoteD'voire are here with me, guys. How you doing?
Very well.
Very well, huh?
Yeah.
Yesterday, we spoke about Chris Hughton. Yeah. Kojo, you said the entire technical team had to be dissolved. You got your wish. Now what?
Well...
You got your wish.
I actually got a lot of wishes. So first wish is granted. I think the biggest wish that if you speak to every Ghanaian on the street of Ghana, you know, it doesn't matter wherever town or city you talk to anyone, the GFA has a big problem. There has to be a total revolution in the GFA because, I mean, we both know it, everyone knows it. And you ask 5 Ghanaians, 5 out of 5, everyone is going to talk about Mr. Okweku. Well, the reason why he was given the mandate, obviously, was to build Ghana football. But we know the numbers. The stats don't lie. Ghana football has declined to the highest. So I don't get it if you get rid of the manager and you stay in affairs. The reason why you were given the mandate was to transform Ghana football to the next level, to bring us up again. One of the promises he gave Ghanaians was that he was going to market the team very, very well, and then bring that whole new phase of Ghana football. As we speak now, I don't think we've seen a quarter of what he said. And so for me, Mr. Kweku needs to step down. He needs to do the honourable thing.
We're saying the GFA president has to step down.
He absolutely has no business in that office.
It's not the first time, to be fair, that an FA president has resigned because of a foreshowing of the country's national team. It's an example that abounds all around the world. Actually, isn't that correct?
It is. I think the most recent on the continent will be some 5 years ago, Egypt's. The president did not go alone. The entire executive council, they in good conscience of the circumstance and their inability to deliver success, all felt responsible, and they took responsibility. They resigned and walked away. But we also have to be realistic enough to admit the reality of our situation. Kweku does not feel accountable to Ghanaians. The executive council, same. They don't believe in such principles as assuming responsibility. And my guess is this: if you speak to any of them, it will be difficult for them to admit their role in the mess that we're in. Yeah. And so these are the kind of people that we're dealing with. Under normal circumstances, yes, I'd call for their resignation. And the normal circumstances, you would expect that...
They probably should have left before.
Long before, yes. By now, you should have had a statement from the GFA admitting the severity of our situation, and not just the... I have spoken consistently.
They haven't even apologized for the poor showing.
I have spoken
It's like business as usual.
Yep.
Nobody has
You
said
remember
anything.
the interview on Asempa 2 years ago after the AFCON, when Chris Hughton, dead Ghanaians, and essentially arrogantly said, if there are Messis and Ronaldos elsewhere, point me in the direction and we'll bring them into the team. But he is... That's the sort of...
We didn't have players, and the best is what we presented.
Exactly. If this was a country where we do things right, if the guys in charge run with sound management principles, with very progressive ideas, what would have happened is that in this moment you would see an admission of culpability. You would also see they pointing out what they believe to be wrong. Mm-hmm. They may not be right all the time about what has led us here, but you will see an attempt to admit and a certain realization of the things, the mistakes that have led us here. More importantly, you will see the solution. So perhaps after this, you will then see them roll out policies, have a consultation with the government, show them their plan for youth football development. And that bit is important because without a solid base, the Black Stars will not be competitive. It is not a coincidence that since 2015, when our youth football has not plateaued, but has taken a nosedive, the fortunes of the Black Stars have been the same. So the two work and walk hand in hand. And it is my suggestion that, look, if we want to make any kind of progress, we have to admit that our football is dead. It is not dying. It is dead.
Reboot. Start from the basics.
Start from the basics and look at how you can ensure that you are influencing the talent developments at a very early age, to the extent that when you watch the...
And that you are in control.
Exactly.
And not leaving anything to chance.
Not leaving anything.
Football is scientific.
Exactly. I mean, these are products, right? If you are not adding value to the talents that God has blessed you with, you will not be competitive on the market because others are doing that. Just to conclude, yesterday, I saw the next batch of the youth teams that have been invited to Pram Pram for the Black Satellites. And the question I asked myself was this: what happened to the team that Lai Kingston led to Serbia that won that tournament then only a year ago? Why have we discarded that team and now the Starlets team? Because by now, the bulk of that team should be promoted.
Yes, there should be 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. So they should be playing in the Africa Games.
In the Black Satellites team, why have we discarded that team and in the last 3 or 4 months have invited over 200 players to the Black Satellites camp? So
that's the team we are preparing for the Africa Games.
So that kind of disconnects the lack of continuity.
It seems a little haphazard to me.
You cannot do that. When you do that, the end product is that you will not be able to promote even one player from any of those teams into the Black Stars. So you will pick some disjointed group.
That a lot of the players named in the squad play or belong to clubs owned by the people.
It is not a suspicion. It is a matter of fact.
Because the clubs we know, we see a number of them in the team.
Where they come from?
Disproportionate number.
These days, you're seeing teams like Benab gain a lot of prominence. Since 2019, Benab FC, Golden Kicks. You're seeing...
Wait, that team belongs to Benab Oil? Maybe? Okay. Very well. We will talk about what to do next. The GFA said that they will, in the coming days, release a roadmap for the future of the Black Stars. What exactly they intend to do, we all don't know. What we know for sure is that they've gotten rid of Chris Hughton and his entire backroom staff. And you might not believe that Chris Hughton is the problem, but Chris Hughton was a problem. Okay? And this is why. In the 13 matches that he's taking over, that he's taking charge of in the Black Stars team, Chris Hughton has played 13 matches, as you can see. He's won 4 of those games. He's drawn 5 of them, and 4 of them have ended in defeats. Chris Hughton has a win rate of 32%. That is the lowest win rate of all the coaches Kerekroku has hired. And we will show the comparative graphics and tell you what the win rate was like for CK Akono, what the win rate was like for Milovan Rahivac, what the win rate was like under Otoado, and what it's like under Chris Hughton. In that period, Chris Hughton has scored, or his team has scored 13 goals, and they have conceded 16. This is a Black Stars team that in the past was a dominant force. They score a lot of goals. There's never one time where the Black Stars have had a goal difference, a negative goal difference. That is our reality now. Yeah. That the manager has taken charge of 13 matches, and in that period, the Black Stars have a negative goal difference of -3. We kept only 4 clean sheets in 13 matches. In other words, in 9 of those games, we have watched our team concede goals. And they shipped in 16 goals in just 13 matches. That's just how bad it was. Yeah. Now, for recency's sake, I'm going to take you to the AFCON and tell you about the 3 games that Chris Hughton played at the AFCON. And tell you
just before you progress.
Yes.
In fairness to Chris Hughton, I think there were mitigating circumstances. And that's where I would say the main issue with Chris Hughton was that while he was not the problem, he could not provide the solutions that for which reason he was hired. Mm-hmm. Right. If you take your mind back to every AFCON that Ghana have participated in the modern era, the GFA has always hired auxiliary technical staff for the Black Stars coach. Herald News comes to mind. Jamie Jackson, or is it Lawrence Jackson? His name readily comes to mind. Often, one of the men who could succeed Chris Hughton, Hervé Renard, comes to mind. He was a physical instructor in 2008. But for whatever reason...
Hughton has all those people. He has a video analyst.
Before the tournament.
I'm saying, physical trainer. He has everything.
I'm saying that before major tournaments, the FA always hires supplementary technical staff.
I think it's probably also because in the past we didn't have them as standing members of the technical team. Now we do. They have a permanent video analyst. They have a permanent physical trainer. All of them are permanent staff now.
I'm saying that we have had them in the past, but the FA has gone out of its way to always find another layer of support for them. And I've given you examples, right? That happened. There was also the small matter of the whole disconnect between himself and the FA. Look, it is whatever we say about Chris Hughton and his shortfalls and his mistakes, and there were a lot of them. And I'm not saying this to justify his mistakes. He is responsible for
I'm still trying to understand how
I'm telling you that
for the negative goal difference and the win rate of 31%.
It doesn't. I'm just telling you that there were things that also made it very difficult for any other manager in Chris Hughton's position.
Very well. I think we established that because, like I said in my intro, I said while Chris Hughton was not the problem, he was a problem. And I think you just said exactly the same thing. Now, at the AFCON against Cape Verde, we lost by 2-1. We created 3 chances in the game. We had 1 shot on target in 90 minutes, which was the goal. We were outpossessed. Cape Verde outpossessed us by 53 to 47. We had less of the ball against Cape Verde. Our XG was 1.74. We were expected to score 1.7 goals. Based on the big chances that we created, we managed to score 1. We underperformed our XG. Cape Verde outpossessed Ghana and limited us to 1 shot on target in the whole match. And they beat us. In the game against Egypt, we drew 2-2. Big chances created, 0. But we scored 2 goals. You know why we scored 2 goals? Because those 2 goals were not chances, but they were converted into goals by the individual brilliance of Mohamed Kudus. We had 3 shots on target, and he had 2 of them, which, of course, he scored. In terms of goals we were supposed to score based on the quality of chances we created, we were not supposed to even score half a goal. It was 0.31, our XG against Egypt. That's how bad it was. And then against Mozambique, we drew 2-2. We created 2 big chances. Again, Egypt outpossessed us. Remember that, 42% possession was what we got. Egypt had 58%. Against Mozambique, we had only 39% of the ball. 39. Mozambique has 61% of the possession. And we have 4 shots on target with an XG of 1.79. So, when Chris Hughton says at his post-match press conference that in terms of his own output and putting the team in a position where they could win games, he feels he has failed, that I agree with him completely. He has failed, and not just failed, he failed spectacularly. Because these 3 games at the AFCON, the opponents played better than us in all 3 matches. We didn't deserve to win a single one of those matches based on our performance. We didn't create enough chances, and we conceded 6 goals in 3 games. We couldn't, so we are sitting back and we still couldn't contain the opposition from scoring. So what exactly was the coach's job? What did he do at this AFCON? So Chris Hughton, and actually is 100% right, that yes, he had issues, and the team had major issues even before he came in. But since he came in, the Black Stars have taken a step back. And numbers don't lie. Chris Hughton is the worst performing Black Stars coach we've had in the last 10 years. And if you're limiting it to only the coaches that the GFA, this current GFA administration has hired, Chris Hughton is the worst of the 4 of them. And I'll take you through that comparative graphic. They came into power in 2019, and they started by firing, of course, Kwesi Appiah, who had taken us to the AFCON in June 2019 in Egypt. And then by October, the elections were held. Kete and his people came into power, and then they fired Kwesi Appiah, and then they hired C.K. Akono. C.K. Akono supervised 10 matches. He won 4 of them, lost 4 of them, and then 2 of them ended in draws. So C.K. Akono had a win rate of 40%. He won 40% of the matches he played. We fired him after 10 games and brought on Milovan Rahivac. You remember that famous press conference? Keto Kweku said he likes his Milo. He likes Milo.
No more Matra Makwe.
He said no more Matra Makwe. A direct dig at C.K. Akono. In other words, claiming that Akono was an experimental coach. And now they've gone for an experienced hand that they believed would do the job. He lasted 8 matches, Milovan Rahivac, in his second term. He lost 3 games. He won only 3, and he drew 2 of them. He had a win rate of 38%. He was fired after the AFCON in 2022. We owe CK Akono. We still owe Milovan Rahivac as well. So all these decisions are coming at a cost to you, the taxpayer, to you and I. We haven't finished paying CK's compensation. We have not finished paying Milovan Rahivac's compensation. We brought in Otto Addo first as an interim coach, and then we gave him a one-year contract extension so he could take us to the World Cup. He supervised 12 matches. He lost 4, he won 5, and then we drew 3. He had a win rate of 42%. 42%. So, CK Akono, 40% win rate. Milovan Rahivac, 38%. Otto Addo, 42%. And Chris Hughton, 31%. So Hughton has the lowest win rate of all the managers this administration has hired. And also take notice, Kwajo, 10 games for CK, 8 games for Milo, 12 games for Otto Addo, 13 matches for Chris Hughton. Exactly an average. It works out to an average of 10 matches. So the lifespan for a Black Stars coach is 10 games.
Absolutely. We have to look at the structure. You know, one of the biggest problems that we're having now as a country in terms of the FA is because there's no formal blueprint of what manager comes in. We're getting a lot of all these managers come in and they play their own tactics. You know, there has to be a formal structure that the Black Stars and the national teams, the youth teams are developed through. So basically, we as a country, we know we generate a lot of midfielders. We know where do we lack? Do we want to generate right backs, left backs, defenders? Where is our side of weakness that we want to develop? All these managers come in, they decide to play any form of tactics they want to play. You cannot go to Brazil and decide to play a 4-5-1. You cannot go to the UK and decide to play any kind of system, except you stick to their 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. Why? Because the players are more adjustable to these type of systems. So if we talk about these managers per average, 10 games, they last 10 games, and they win 3, and they lose 3, and they draw 3, and they draw 2, it's only because as a country we have failed in terms of the FA has no plan. What we keep doing is we keep hiring big names coming. I'm wondering who hired Otto Addo. Otto Addo has never been a coach. He was a scout.
And yet he has the best win rate.
Because we went to the World Cup. And so you know the
and
World Cup.
And we won only one game in the World Cup.
Exactly. And we won the big game against Nigeria.
Well, those were 2 draws, but yeah, sure, we qualified.
Well, fair enough. But that's what I'm saying. All these things that we keep talking about is what is letting Ghana down. We keep scratching the surface. Again, Fenty, we need to go back to the basics. Before we hire the next manager, the FA, whoever remains as the FA president, should have a blueprint. What is the way we want to play as a country? Because we need to remodel our players based on a system that's suitable for our players. What we're doing now, you see the system Chris Hughton was playing. His favorite system has always been 4-2-3-1. It's not just Ghana. He's been playing this in the Premiership. Who plays 4-2-3-1 now? I bet you none of teams play 4-2-3-1.
Jose has abandoned it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So
there you go. So if you have him there...
Jose went from 4-3-3 to 4-2-3-1. Everybody's evolving.
Nobody's doing it now. And he keeps doing the same thing. So when Ashmiri goes off, he goes back to his mental state in terms of how he still wants to approach the game very pragmatically. And he puts in 2 pivot when he doesn't even need. And I ask myself, how then do we play Semenyo as a striker for Ghana? It's very abysmal. Look, Semenyo's never been a goal poacher. We need a goal poacher. You watch the structures, you watch the systems. I know there's a big, huge problem with the FA. But as a coach, I think he lacks a lot of misunderstanding about the team, the quality of the players, and his approach to games, and in-game management. All of it cut through.
So he deserved to go.
So he deserved to go. But going forward, we have to go back, like we keep saying. The FA needs a blueprint. If Ghana wants to play a 4-4-2, of course, if a manager comes, he can do a variation of a 4-4-2 into a 4-1-4-1. But it should be in a system that's quite suitable so that we ingrain these principles in the youth teams so that it becomes more easier in transferring players through the process and bringing them up. Because at the moment, it's a big disparity and it's very shambolic. And I wonder if CoteD'voire should be still the president today.
He's still the president. Actually, let's look ahead now. I think we all agree that the coach had to go. He's gone. I'm very surprised he didn't quit by himself. I'm not sure what he was waiting for. Whether compensation or he was waiting for some miracle or I don't know, man. The GFA statement said that in the coming days, they'll put together a roadmap on the future of the Black Stars. From where you sit, what should be in that roadmap? What should we be doing before we appoint that next coach?
I don't trust the people who are going to put together the roadmap.
So what? We should just throw our arms in the air and give up?
They have failed in 5 years. They are not going to suddenly crack the code now. I don't trust them.
Because certainly there are question marks around their judgment, given the kind of coaches they've hired and the results.
You can't tell me that.
The results get worse. The higher they aim for the coaching.
Yeah. With each appointment, a trigger happy. Look, our best bet at salvation of any kind will be government intervention. And more importantly, government involvement. And it is government job to develop sports in this country.
True.
It is government's job to provide the infrastructure and the framework for that to happen. Mm-hmm. And I would go as far as saying that given the size of the country and our limited resources, I think it will be government's job, and even the size of the football ecosystem, it is government's job to educate the resource persons who will develop talents and even run the sport in this country, or at least facilitate the education of those. And the issue at hand lies squarely within the remit of government. So long as you take a cedi from the consolidated fund to go and train the black meteors, the black maidens, it is your job to ensure that the people who are going to train those players will impact the best knowledge possible, that the circumstances or the conditions under which they are training are world-class, will not, in the end, create an imbalance so that no matter how much money you pump in there, it will not make any difference. What has to happen, and indulge me on this for a bit, is for the government to realize that beyond littering the country with these youth and resource centers and the facilities that they are renovating, they need a plan, right? The bulk of these facilities that have been built are not even accessible. So if a kid wanted to play football, which playground will they have to go to go and play there? So we need to find a way to connect the infrastructure that we are putting there
to talent development.
And education. In this moment, if you wanted to look at where the various districts, the clubs at the various districts want to train, say maybe a quality facility where they can access maybe for a fee and have some world-class tutors there imparting knowledge to them, you won't have any in this country. Look, what Right to Dream are doing, is it Mr. Sissoko, the former Liverpool player who is now an instructor there? Yeah. Michael Essien is at Norgeland. Yeah. That is the way to go. Mm-hmm. Excuse my language. Okay. The concepts, I'm being careful. The concepts that someone who studied sports science or physical education and has a degree in that can teach how to pass the ball is far outdated. The principles of the game have evolved. Look, and I was listening to Coach here, and for the uninitiated, you will still be fixated with taxes and all of those things, but Coach knows that the game has moved past those principles. Sorry. These days, the complexities lie with positioning, spatial awareness, creating space. Space is the most important thing in the game.
Of course.
How they can stretch teams, create space. If the teams that are able to control...
How do you take a shot? How do you make an assist if you don't have enough space?
And teams are able to manipulate spaces, not necessarily because they have the best tactics, but they are able to coach games, manage games, and they have trained players to be able to think and react to real-time in-game scenarios. Yeah. That is something we don't have in Ghana. Look, within the next couple of weeks...
don't have the education.
Within the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear names like Prosper Natiogu. These are not world-class coaches. We need world-class coaches to coach the Black Stars.
And
Prosper Ogum, CK Akuno, and all of these.
You mentioned a key thing. We also even need world-class coaches at youth level.
So that was why I mentioned the Right to Dream example.
Yeah.
So that the next time, some of your best talents you have produced in a decade will not be told that they are not good enough because they don't have the basics. And that is the situation of Ado Fatawu Issahaku and Daniel Efriyebania. Fatawu Issahaku has been lucky. He had a year, someone took a chance on him, and now things are working out for him. And we're beginning to see him play in a way that has left all of us saying, maybe we misprofiled this guy. But this kid went through the Ghanaian education system, primary, JSS, started playing, I don't know if he played coast football, but lower tier football. Mm-hmm. In all of our minds, Fatawu Issahaku is a number 10. But we're seeing him play at wing back to devastating effects. We're seeing him play on the right side as an inside forward, as a right winger. If various coaches at Steadfast, Dreams FC, our under 15, under 17, under 20, from private to national team coaches, nobody was able to identify the problem with this kid, then we have a problem. And so the government needs to realize that beyond the infrastructure that they are trying to roll out, find a way of connecting that to talent education. Have a plan for talent education. Have a plan for training instructors at the basic level so that in each district, you know that we have this number of people teaching our kids football, right? So that after 2 or 3 years, we know from this pool, we are choosing these guys to form a regional team. And then the best of those can form a national team. And there's no other way to put it, this whole concept that 200 players, 4 batches of 50 have to go to Pram to go and train for a week. Justify for a week. And then the coach, it is rubbish.
That concept is gone.
It's gone. Just let me finish. Yeah. So we need to find a more scientific approach to this. Look, we've been playing games about the sports bill and the funding components. If you have a plan, if you have a policy that is holistic, that is clear and unambiguous, you know at each stage what your objectives are, what it will cost for you to realize those objectives, right? Mm-hmm. Within what time frame? And based on that, you are able to speak properly to the conversation of the sports fund and then say, this is how much we need annually. Not just money to pay compensations and salaries and co, but based on the projects that we're embarking on, this is how much we will need. And so we need to raise this much. And these are the avenues of revenue generation. We cannot continue running football in this country the way
throwing money at the blaster.
It's a complete waste. Look, we just published the stories of how much it cost Ghana for the qualifiers.
Exactly. We spent $1.5 million in qualifying to this particular AFCON tournament. We haven't added how much we spent at the actual AFCON tournament. Meanwhile, judging from what we spent at the last AFCON in Cameroon, which was $2.5 million, if, let's say, ceteris paribus, we spent the same amount of money at this particular AFCON, then it means that we spent $4 million just for going to, just to go to Cote d'Ivoire and embarrass and disgrace ourselves.
But that's not even possible because this time we sent more funds.
There you go. To Cote d'Ivoire. And then gave everybody $400 as well. Meanwhile, at the AFCON, even if you go to the quarterfinal stage, you get $1.3 million. We spent $4 million going and getting embarrassed and then exiting at the group stages. And this is what we do all the time. We don't invest in the preparation. We don't invest in the in anything at all, and we don't add value to the people. But when the tournament comes around, we go and spend too much money and make lofty, hefty promises. Africa Games is coming. Okay, we send athletes to camp, in Cape Coast only last weekend, 40 days to the Africa Games. All right. The Ghana Olympic Committee says they need $50,000 just to prepare athletes for the Africa Games, which we are hosting. Okay. The Minister of Youth and Sports says they don't have $50,000, but they were ready to pay over $30,000 to each player if they made it out of the group stages at the AFCON. What is wrong with us?
And $60,000 to each member of the coaching staff.
Yes, each coaching staff member would have taken $60,000. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? Meanwhile, the Africa Games, which we are hosting, we have gone to set a lofty target for our athletes that we want to finish in the top 5 on the medal table. You know what it takes to finish in the top 5 in the medal table at the Africa Games? You need to win at least 100 medals. In fact, Egypt, who topped the medal table the last time out, got 259 medals. You want to put a guess on how many medals we got at the Africa Games the last time around? 13, which means in order for us to get 100 medals and possibly finish in that top 5, we need to make a swing of 87 more medals. We have no plan in place for that swing to win 87 more medals, and yet wait for the games to come around. Then we'll go and promise the people that we'll pay everybody $10,000 if you win a gold medal. You have not invested in the preparation, and you've gone to promise that you would give people a certain amount of money if they win gold medal. You wait for it. It will happen. They will go and promise that they will give them $10,000 if you win a gold medal, knowing full well that they will not win the gold medal because they know they didn't invest in the people's preparations. What is wrong with us? That is wickedness. Speaking of wickedness, Mauritania are very wicked. Yesterday, they kicked out tournament favorites, or one of the tournament favorites, 2019 champions Algeria. They won by 1-0. Senegal obviously topped the group with their 2-0 win.
Why do we still refer to Algeria as pre-tournament favorites for this one, especially after what they did?
The assumption was they learned their lesson from the last time.
After how they qualified for this tournament?
Yeah, they finished on the same point as, I think, there was another team in their group that gave them a really
controversially, the final game, I think in September against Uganda, had a very dodgy goal awarded them. And that was why Micho Sredovic, the Ugandan coach, spoke in very strong terms yesterday after Algeria's elimination was confirmed. But Amir Abdou, the Mauritanian coach, Ghanaian fans will remember him. Against Comoros in Cameroon, he led them to beat the Black Stars by 3-2. And last night again, Mauritania's very first win at the AFCON over Algeria. It's a giant slayer, isn't it?
Yeah. Angola also beat Burkina Faso 2-0, but both teams have progressed to the knockout rounds. Yeah. The Gambia lost to Cameroon. It was a dramatic game. We'll show you the highlights of that game very shortly. By 3-2, Cameroon needed to score very, very late. But Senegal, the only team to qualify to the knockout rounds with a 100% record, they won all 3 matches, 9 points out of 9, 3 wins out of 3. Yeah. And they look set. They look like they could possibly become the first country to defend their title since Egypt's three-peat, 2006, 2008, and 2010. Yeah. Karim has been looking at how that could possibly happen. And where is Karim? Please come over here and just show us quickly
he has to make
what he's been looking at.
He has to make a 90-degree arc.
How are you, my brother?
I'm doing okay.
Senegal, what's going on? What have you got for us? Because they look very impressive indeed at this AFCON.
Yes, they are deadly. I was in here yesterday because of the Black Stars.
Yeah. No wahala. No wahala. Okay, let's get on with it then.
We are creeping, and Senegal are looking like a well-oiled machine, attempting to do something no defending champion has done since 2010. That is Egypt winning the title 3 times. So I'm looking at them qualifying to the knockout stages as the only team winning all their 3 games, becoming the second team with the highest number of goals, 3, and becoming just one of 4 teams to concede just 1 goal. And looking at their run, Opta has predicted that they are the favorites ahead of this tournament. What I'm going to look at is the last 6 winners and how they perform in the next tournament after winning the title. So let's start with Egypt and their run in 2012. After winning the 3 titles, they didn't qualify for the 2012 tournament and the 2013 on, back to back. So what happened? And they didn't qualify. They finished bottom of their qualifying group, a group that has Niger, Burkina Faso, and Sierra Leone. But still, they finished bottom. What happened? Around that 2010, 2013, their league was suspended, and we know that they heavily depend on their league for their national team because of some stadium disaster that saw about 74 people die. Yeah. Then in 2013, Zambia shocked everyone and won it in 2012. And they qualified again in 2013, but exited at the group stage. If it was now, in that 2013, they could have possibly been progressing as one of the third best placed teams because they drew all their group matches and were third with 3 points. They were in that group with Nigeria, who also won the 2013 tournament. But and curiously,
2015.
Yes.
And we're supposed to come to 2015 as defending champions.
Yes,
but
curiously, they didn't qualify. What happened? In the final game of qualifying, they had the opportunity of qualifying as one of third best placed teams because there were 7 groups with 2 teams qualifying as and the third best finisher qualifying. They needed a win to qualify ahead of DRC. But they said, no, we are Nigeria. We never did carry last, but that one.
They carried last. So they didn't come back in 2015?
They drew the final game 2-2 to South Africa and didn't qualify. Then 2017,
and that tournament
in 2015, Ivory Coast
CoteD'Ivoire beat Ghana
on penalties to win.
Came to 2017 as defending
champions and didn't go out of the group stages. And
wow,
there's only one team in this run, from the last 6 winners, there's only one team that has gotten to the round of 16, and that is Cameroon. The rest, 2 didn't qualify, 3 exited at the group stages. Senegal, they got knocked out in the round of 16 by Nigeria in that 2017. They were in the same group with Ghana. And then Algeria, the team that
they won the title in
2019, a lot of people had expectations for them, but in 6 AFCON, since winning the title, in 2019, they've not won a game. In 6 games, they've accumulated 3 points, conceded 8 goals, and scored just 4. That is how worse it is. And Senegal, as we've spoken about them, they are on course. Looking at how they are playing and the quality of players, the decisions their coach is making, looks like it's going to be possible for them to surpass that quarterfinal barrier that the defending champions have been having since 2010.
All right, interesting. Thank you very much, Karim. So we'll see whether Senegal will be able to defend their title. But this is confirmation of the teams that are going to qualify for the round of 16. This is the ranking of the third place team. So Guinea will make it through. They've got 4 points. Mauritania have qualified as well. CoteD'Ivoire have qualified. I can confirm that. Namibia as well have an opportunity. Karim, thank you very much. They say you can go. Yes, I am. And so that's that. I'll show you the fixtures for this. So you see why Ghana is out. You got only 2 points. You have no chance of coming here. So Ghana is out completely. All right. Now, with these teams in 3-3-3, Mauritania for sure have qualified. They have a goal difference of +1. Yeah. Is it +1? No, -1. -1. CoteD'Ivoire have a goal difference of -3, and Namibia have a goal difference of -3 as well. Now, Zambia is the only other team with a chance to qualify to the knockout rounds. Let me show you the fixtures. Now, Zambia play against Morocco. Now, if Zambia were to get a win, where are they? Yeah. If Zambia were to beat Morocco, it will take them to 4 points, I believe. They have 1 win. 1 defeat. Yeah. So it would... No, they actually have 2 points, isn't it? They have 2 points, so they have 2 draws. So if they were to beat Morocco, then they would qualify. In fact, that would mean that Zambia go up to 5 points above Morocco. Yeah. But Morocco already have 4 points. So that means that... Okay, I'm sorry. But so that means that they will go... In fact, so that means now Namibia will get kicked out. Yeah. And then what would happen is that Morocco would now finish here. Yeah. The Mauritania below them, then CoteD'Ivoire, and then Namibia will be eliminated.
Ivory Coast take the last.
Because Zambia would qualify automatically, so they will no longer need this. Yeah. So these are the games coming up. South Africa have 3 points themselves. Tunisia have no win.
Yeah.
So if Tunisia need to qualify, they need to beat South Africa.
And then they get the automatic slots.
No,
They're on the points.
Yeah.
Because they lost to Namibia.
Yeah.
They did, so they have a point. Thank
Yes.
you. The only way they qualify is they beat South Africa. If they beat South Africa, who have 3 points, they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. that is some game, huh?
Very tight.
Quick prediction?
That's a tough one, because South Africa themselves are not playing too well. Tunisia are very not convincing as well.
Prediction, Kojo.
I think it could.
I say Tunisia win. I don't think South Africa have the temperament.
No.
I don't.
They've bottled it on too many occasions for us to press them. Tunisia win.
Tunisia.
Namibia, Mali. Mali already shoot. Namibia have 3 points right now.
Yeah.
And look, a draw could be enough for them. Do you think you'll get something from this game? I believe so.
I don't think so. The way Mali plays takes away a lot of liberties from opponents.
All right, Achu. DR Congo, quick, we have only 30 seconds. DR Congo, Tanzania. DR Congo win. And you get Morocco, Zambia.
Definitely Morocco.
Morocco win?
Morocco win.
Okay, so Zambia getting kicked out according to Kojo. Anyway, so that's our show for today on AFCON Today. My name is Fento Tahir Fento. The show is proudly sponsored by MTN. MTN everywhere you go. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM, on the Joy News channel, as well as on Joy Prime TV channel. Of course, Achu and Kojo were my guest. Show produced by Sheikh Mubarak Haruna. Until next time, though, thanks for watching.